Hey everybody, hope you're doing great today. In this video, I want to talk about the new processes and rules that are in place for real estate agents, primarily on the buyer side. So a real estate agent such as myself working on behalf of a buyer. So in the past, the process was done a little differently compared to now. There was a lawsuit filed against the National Association of Realtors, NAR, in order to avoid litigating the entire lawsuit, decided to settle the lawsuit. And as part of that settlement, they change the rules and processes that both buyers agents and sellers agents are operating under when they're dealing with their respective clients. So in terms of the buyer's agent, which this video is primarily about, the buyer's agent is the person who's going to be representing the buyers and helping them buy their house, buy their investment property, buy some sort of real estate. They're representing them through the transaction. In general, though, you do not need a buyer's agent if you don't want one. It is possible to work directly with a seller or work directly with the seller's agent. Sometimes you might hear that term dual agency, where one agent is representing both the buyer and the seller. There's some potential conflict issues with that. That's a topic for another video. In this video, I want to focus mainly on buyer's agents and buyer clients. So under the new rules, before a buyer's agent can take any buyer to a home, they need to get a signed representation agreement. So that agreement has terms in there that states how me as a buyer's agent is going to be working with you as a buyer. Basically, it spells out time frames, the type of services I will provide, and the big thing is there's also the requirement for compensation to be in there. Now in the past, that wasn't always the case. The buyer's agent didn't need to have the compensation specified up front, but under the terms of the new settlement, in order to separate the seller side and the buyer side a little more distinctly, the National Association of Realtors, NAR, said, okay, buyer's agents, you need to now separately discuss your compensation with your buyer. So as with any business relationship, the one big thing that's needed in that relationship is trust. Buyer's real estate agent and a buyer is no different. If you don't trust the person that you're going to work with, when they present you with that agreement, say, here you go, here's my buyer's representation agreement, and you don't trust them, chances are for you to want to sign that agreement are going to be close to none. It's fully understandable. So when you're looking for your buyer's agent, let's say you're going word of mouth, you've got a couple of friends, they work with this one particular buyer's agent, and they really liked working with them, they think that person is great, then that's something you can go with. You're going on the basis of the trust that they built up with their agent. Now, if one of your friends happened to say, yeah, I've worked with this agent, I chatted with them a couple times, they seemed okay, but maybe they never really closed a deal with them for whatever reasons. Now, in that situation, you don't necessarily know that that friend of yours developed a full trust relationship. So you need to go and chat with that agent, spend some time, sit down with them, and just learn about their processes, learn about who they are. And then if you trust them, then you can go on to the next step and then feel a little more comfortable signing that buyer's representation agreement. Now, in many cases, these buyer representation agreements are pretty standardized. So in our case, I'm licensed in Ohio and Kentucky as a real estate agent, and the boards that I'm part of, the multiple listing services that I'm part of, have already drafted up their own buyer's representation agreements. It's been vetted by attorneys, so the language is pretty standard. There's fill in the blanks in there that we'll be putting in information for, such as, how long the agreement will go for, what the compensation is, if there's any other things in there that need to be covered as part of the agreement. So for the most part, these are standard contracts, and there should not be much adjustment. Depending on your state, your location, in our case, it's a couple pages, not very long, not too hard to understand. Sit down with your agent and have them explain it to you. Definitely look at all the terms, what the fill-ins, what are they filling in, and do you agree with those blanks that they're filling in with particular information? For example, the compensation. Compensation is always to have been negotiable when it comes to buying and selling real estate. So now if your agent automatically writes in X% and you don't agree with that X%, if you didn't have this conversation beforehand on what the buyer's agent was going to be charging you as compensation, then you need to have that conversation with them. If X% works for you, great, X% works for you. So if that X% doesn't work for you for whatever reason, seems a little high, talk to that agent, say, hey, this seems high. Can you explain it to me? What's the reasoning behind this? And is there any flexibility in it? Now, if that agent says no, either my broker says no, this is all that I can put in there, or this is all I'm going to put in there, then part of the negotiation process for you is to say, okay, sorry, I this is not for me. I'll chat with some other agents. There should be other agents there who are willing to meet you where you want to be. So now when it comes to the buyer's agent, some agents may have premium service. They may be charging a premium price, and that's what that X% is. They're going to drive you around everywhere, basically getting like a 5-star treatment. So that's something to consider, but that's up to you whether that's something you want or you don't want. A lot of agents do different things. So again, talk with them. What are they doing? How are they doing it? And then go from there. So when it comes to finding a buyer's agent for yourself, if you don't have any references, look online, look for reviews, meet a few agents, chat with them, and then once you find that agent, comfortable with them, if you do have any further questions about the buyer's representation agreement, they've explained what they can, and you still don't understand something, and you still have questions about something, by all means talk to an attorney. Buying a home is usually one of the largest purchases a person will make in their lifetime. So spending a little extra on hiring an attorney, making sure they're there to help you with the process as well, especially once you hire that attorney. If you need them later on, they're going to be more readily available to you versus you're trying to find a brand new attorney for some issue. Say, for instance, something blew up with your closing process and you need to get legal advice. A lot of times going in cold to an attorney, especially if they're a very busy attorney, you're going to be put at the back of the line because they've already got a lot of clients there and they're working with them. But if you already met with that attorney prior, built a relationship, had them perform some work for you, then they're going to be easier able to step in and help you with your problems, especially when dealing with real estate. A lot of times time is of the essence. You've got closing that has to happen on a certain day. You've got inspections that have to happen within a certain time. Mortgage process has to happen within a certain time. So missing any of those deadlines can cause issues during the transaction. Yes, your buyer's agent should be able to help you with that as well too. It doesn't hurt to have a second opinion from an attorney who can give you the legal reasoning behind certain things, so that way you're better protected, better covered. So let me know your questions in the comments below. Are you starting the process of buying a home? Have you been seeing these buyer representation agreements? What questions do you have about them? If you are in need of an agent in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area, feel free to reach out. My contact information is below. Happy to chat with you, see if we're a good fit for each other and that I can help you with your home buying needs. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.